In this video, we'll learn how to create prime change orders. For changes to the project to be incorporated into a project's financial analytics, they need to be part of an approved change order, with an approved status date later than the prime contract date. We check the prime contract before we create a change order, because we need to have an approved prime contract with a status date. From the project menu, we select prime contract, and then the contract number. Any default change proposal request, CPR, and change order markups should be set up on the prime contract if we want to import them to the change order. This is not required. Returning to contract administration with the breadcrumb at the top of the screen. We know job cost codes must already be added to the project in contract administration. We see they have been added. If we base the change order on a CPR, the CPR must be approved and have an approved status date later than the approved date on the prime contract. On the Contract Administration Overview page, go to COs and click the More button. Notice that we can create change orders manually, or from an estimate, or a change proposal request, CPR, or a work order, or from an allowance package. In this video, we'll create a change order manually, and then we'll create one from a CPR. I'll select the prime contract, and much of the information is filled in for me. Compare the CO number and the CO order number. The CO order number determines the sequence in which change orders appear in logs and prime invoices. In most cases, we should leave the CO order number as it is. The CO number can follow our naming conventions, and we can select an auto format for this number in settings. We'll look at settings that affect the change management features in the last video in this lesson. We can also modify the initiated by list, and this is the same list that we see when we add a CPR. I'll leave the status as pending for now. A subject is required. We can enter a scope of work for the change order, but note that we can't import the boilerplate scopes from settings. Change orders are typically specific to the project, so templates are less likely to apply. Add any drawing. If we clear the To Be Determined Later checkbox, we can enter the number of days to add to the schedule. Then click Next. In the next window, we can upload any files related to the change order, and we can also link any existing drawings, specs, photos, or other files that have already been linked to the project. When we click Finish, we're taken to the change order information page. To add line items, click Add/Import Items. We can add items manually, or by importing them from the cost database, estimate, a spreadsheet, or directly from the job cost code list. If we add items based on job cost codes, we can change the descriptions on the change order cost codes as needed. We'll start by adding an item manually, and then we'll import additional items. The first section of the CO line item details window lets us add item header information, quantity, units, unit price, and displays the subtotal. It also has fields for job cost code and tax code. In a later step, we'll see how to import any markups we've added as default CPR/CO markups for the prime contract. However, another common practice is to include markups right here in the unit price, in which case we won't see markups as separate line items when we send the change order to the owner. Let's say we're adding a dewatering pump. The unit quantity we enter here affects the cost calculations in the budget section. The price for each budget line should reflect the same unit of measure that we used for the unit price. We recommend that we take the time to enter sell rates and cost budgets carefully for each line. Skipping this step can have a considerable impact on analytic reports and earned revenue calculations. Select a job cost code for the item, and a tax code if applicable. Then click Save and Close. Now let's add a couple more items using an import spreadsheet. Remember, all spreadsheet import templates can be found in Help. Click the Help center in the upper right-hand corner. Select Product Help and Training. Then Getting Started, and then click the topic Import options from Microsoft Excel. Scroll down and under Contract Administration, click the CO Proposed Items link. This topic explains the steps to import CO items, with a link to a sample template and the list of columns to include. Scroll down to the Microsoft Excel import sample to view the link and the table. Select the spreadsheet template if you need it as a guide for the import file. We have our sample spreadsheet, so we will skip this step. Let's return to the Change Orders information page. To do this, I am going from full screen to browser view so I can click the tab to return. Let's scroll down to the CO items section. In this example, the import spreadsheet we'll use includes 2 items. Let's click Add/Import Items and then Import from Excel. This takes you to the upload screen for the file. Select the spreadsheet to import. As we see here, the import was successful, and we can return to the Change Orders information page by using the breadcrumbs at the top of the screen. Let's scroll down to the CO items section. Reviewing the items, we see our manually added item and the 2 items we just imported from our spreadsheet. Now let's apply any default markups for CPRs and change orders that we've set up in the Prime contract. With this method, they will appear as a separate line item. Note that some markup was already included in the individual items when we entered a unit price greater than the sum of the cost budgets. Click Add/Import Items. And then Import/Apply Change Markups, and we'll see the profit default markup. Click Import Markups to add them to the CPR. When we've finished adding items and markups, we'll have a couple of other areas to check. Click Edit at the top of the CPR window, and scroll down to the Schedule Impact section. When we've assessed the impact to the schedule of this CPR, we can clear the Schedule Impact checkbox and enter the number of estimated days. As you can see, we have already come across something that had us change the impact. We will let it stand as it is. We're ready to send this change order to the project owner. Go to Reports. Then Change Order Proposal. And we'll summarize items by owner code. For the export option, we'll select Save PDF to linked files and click OK. You can scroll down to linked files to check the CO is saved. Once the file is saved, we'll run the report again and email it to the project owner. For the export option, select Email PDF. Review the recipients and CC lists, attach any files, and click Send Email. Now that we've seen how to create a change order manually, let's create one by converting a CPR. In order to use this method, the CPR needs to have been approved. With an approved status date, that falls after the Prime contract's approved status date. In Contract Administration, next to Change Orders, click Add from CPR. In this screen, we select the Prime contract, which in our example is 002. And then select the CPR. Notice that we can base the change order on multiple CPRs if more than one applies. Click Next. And in Step 2, enter a subject and verify the remaining information. Let's set the status to Approved. And leave the item format option set to as in CPR. Then, click Finish. On the change order information page, notice that all of the items from the CPR have been brought in. We didn't need to select them. Likewise, any linked files from the CPR are included. Now we can process this change order through the Reports menu by saving it to linked files. Let's go to Reports in the upper right-hand corner and select CO Proposal. we will sum it by owner code. And then using the export option, we will save PDF to linked files. Finally, we will click OK to accept it. We're going to cover project financials in detail in upcoming videos, but for now, using the breadcrumbs, select Contract Admin. And then in the Related Functions section, click on Project Analytics. Let's scroll down to bring up the tab menu, which is about midway down. Overview is the first tab, and displayed for us. Click Summary Overview Financials. And notice there are columns showing totals for the original prime contract, approved change orders, and the revised contract, which is the original plus changes. Remember that approved change orders, including item cost budgets and sell rates, do affect project financials. Change proposal requests, even when approved, and pending change orders, are not reflected in financial reports. Let's return to the analytical reports to look at another one. On the Other tab, under Analytical Reports, you'll see the Change Order Analysis report. This report shows detailed comparisons of change order value versus prime invoice status, cost budget versus committed cost, cost budget versus cost to date, and labor and equipment hours budgeted versus time card hours. In this video, we learned how to create a change order.